Do you ever feel nervous or anxious in social situations? Have you found yourself avoiding gatherings or events because just the thought of interacting with other people fills you with dread? Well, I have been there. Today, we are going to explore practical and accessible ways to overcome social anxiety so that you can start enjoying your social interactions instead of fearing them. Now, first of all, social anxiety isn't just about being shy or introverted. It's a more profound fear of being judged or negatively evaluated by your peers. Now, we both know that this feeling can be debilitating. But the good news is that just like with any anxiety, it can be both managed and overcome when you use the right tools and mindset. Now, just before we jump in, it's important to understand that social anxiety is a common experience and you are not alone in this. So with that said, let's jump in. First and foremost, it's important to gradually expose yourself to social situations. Don't think you're just gonna jump in and things are gonna be okay. It's gonna take a minute, but we're gonna get there. Start small. Perhaps with your neighbor or with a person at a local cafe. The idea is to slowly build up your comfort level, nothing too overwhelming. Now, we need to think of this as training a muscle, in the sense that the more you use it, the stronger it will get. Mindfulness is another powerful tool in combating social anxiety. It involves being present in the moment and observing your thoughts and feelings without any judgment. Now, I've talked about this in several of my videos, but practicing mindfulness can help you address the root of your social anxiety, making the impact of it on your life lesser and lesser over time. Now for some of the heavy-hitting stuff. Cognitive behavioral techniques are particularly effective for managing social anxiety. Now, these techniques involve challenging and changing the negative thoughts that actually fuel your social anxiety. Let's talk about how. For example, if you often think to yourself, I'm going to embarrass myself, you need to try and catch that thought, which mindfulness will help you do, and replace it with something more positive and balanced. Something like, I have the right to be here and enjoy myself just like anyone else, and if I do say something that sounds kind of awkward, no one's gonna care. And you know why no one's gonna care? Because everyone's thinking the same thing you are. They're all concentrated on themselves and really not concerned about what you're saying that much. Okay, next up. Preparing for social interactions can actually help reduce anxiety. Now, take it from me, this does not mean sitting there and rehearsing every potential conversation in your head. That can actually increase pressure and anxiety. Instead, just have a few topics in your mind that you're already comfortable talking about. This could be a hobby, a recent movie, or a book that you enjoyed. Another great tool to remember is the FORD acronym. F-O-R-D, like the car. If you use this acronym, it can help you come up with endless things to talk about with somebody. Let me explain. F stands for family, O stands for occupation, R stands for recreation, and D stands for dreams. People like to go on about any single one of these topics, and if you ask them about any one of those or rotate through them, the other person will find that you are a great conversationalist just because you're asking the right questions about them. And so much about being a conversationalist is asking about the other person. This sense of preparation and this sort of strategy can make you feel more at ease just because you have things prepared in your mind that you know you can go into conversation with. This means you're not going to be anxious about running out of things to say. And the more you practice the FORD strategy, you'll see how powerful it really is. Another technique is to put your focus outward during social interaction instead of inward. When we as humans get anxious, especially socially anxious, we tend to focus on our internal reactions. How our voice sounds, whether or not we're blushing, the fact that our hands are sweaty, all these things. But try to focus on the other person's body language and the other person's words. And if ever you pause and take a second to respond to the other person and the other person asks what you're doing and why you haven't responded or if you've heard them, no one is ever gonna get upset at the response, sorry, I was just thinking about what you said. People love to hear that. This shift of attention onto the other person can actually decrease your self-consciousness and increase your engagement in the conversation at hand. Okay, this next point might seem like it's kind of coming out of the blue, but hear me out. Regular exercise and healthy diet play a large role in managing anxiety. Now, yes, while physical activity releases endorphins, which have natural stress-relieving properties, it's also the case that when you take care of yourself regularly, you will just naturally feel more confident. Now, going into this is a topic for another time, but suffice it to say that if you begin to live a more healthy lifestyle, social anxiety does fade a lot quicker from your life. Next, like I mentioned, being social is a muscle, and so it's something that you need to push yourself to do regularly. Like I said at the very beginning, say hi to a neighbor or greet the person at the local cafe that's getting your coffee. And finally, it would be remiss of me to not mention, if your particular social anxiety feels overwhelming despite all of your efforts and all the things I've mentioned in this video, it may be helpful to actually seek professional help. A therapist or a coach can offer you a variety of strategies and things that you can do to help alleviate your symptoms of social anxiety. Now, to wrap everything up, overcoming social anxiety is a gradual process that will need you to be patient, and also willing to overcome your fears. Now, I know this sounds scary at first, but little by little, through changing your thought patterns, your mindset, and your practices, you will find that building the muscle of social confidence, if you keep practicing, will only improve. By implementing the strategies that I taught you in this video, you can start to break down the barriers that social anxiety creates for you. And this will lead to a more fulfilling life and more enjoyable social interactions. And remember that every single step you take on this journey is another step towards being a more comfortable, confident you. Now, thank you so much for watching. My name is Spencer with Must Become. Always remember that your potential is your obligation, and so what you can become, you must become.